Hey everyone, this is going to be my week 3 to 4 breakdown. We're going to start with some character design stuff that I found some really wonderful reference images and stuff from Polarian Ukraine, the people who made Raid Shadow Legends and other very popular mobile games, as well as I stole this next timeline graph thing from the YouTuber Edgeloop. So to start off, we have this character design pipeline. It pretty much just goes over from start to finish. At the start, you would choose whatever the type of character is: hero, sidekick, NPC. Sort of listing it from most important to least important. I kind of feel, and obviously, the more important the character is, the more design that'll go into it. After that, the character will be concepted. You'll show it to everyone in your department and everything, and everyone will sort of decide on after you've created character outfits and silhouettes and emotional zoom in on characters' faces with emotions and everything, and everyone sort of gets a feel for the character and a design is finally picked out. You'll block out the model, which is essentially just make an extremely low poly model that'll get given to the animation team so they can start working on animations and stuff before you've even made the full model. After that, you do the high res version of the model where you just go absolutely ham and make it look as beautiful as you can. It has to be clean, the model and the topology and everything, of course. But after that, you'll move on to the low-res version, where your model will probably get outsourced to another person. It could be done in-house, or it could be outsourced to a sole trader or something. But yeah, that model will then get just somehow these people are just magical and keep all of the detail that you've made, but make it in just millions and millions less polygons than you did. After that, you would UV and bake various texture maps and everything into it. There's ambient occlusion, id mapping, normal mapping. There's just so much stuff there. I haven't even done many UV and bake maps for characters, so that's going to be something that I'm going to have to play with in the future. After that, you'll take your UV maps and you'll paint it. You'll either do some, if you want to do your own style, you could take it into Photoshop and draw texture onto the character, or if you want to sort of have an easier way of doing it, you can take that and put it into Substance Painter, and that'll put hyper-realism textures on it. They look absolutely beautiful, mind you. After that, your character will then get taken into whatever engine's being used, be it for a movie, video game, short animation, whatever it's being used for, and it'll get sort of optimized for that engine. And then after that, your asset will be delivered and ready for use. So to start off with Polarium Ukraine, you can see that on the bottom left and top left of this page, they have this ogre character that they've shown from concept, and then that's sort of the beginning, right? And then after that, you would go to blocking out, which if you jump over to the GIF on the very right side, you can see that it goes from very, very extremely low poly blob of mesh to extremely high detailed model that would be used sort of in the end. And then in the very center of the page, in the middle of the top, you can see that they've had this extremely high poly, high detailed character, and somehow the magician, whoever low polyfied this model, has done a really great job and shows the really clean topology, and it's just really beautiful what they've done. So I think this is the sort of pipeline that I'm trying to follow with creating Eblis for my animation. Moving on to my own work, in week 3 I spent my time doing some new outfits for Eblis. I think that although the other 3 outfits, some of them plainer than others, or the other 5 outfits, besides the first one on the top left, have some things that I like about them. I think that I'm still very sort of attracted to the first one. I don't know if that's just my own bias, but I think I probably could have done a couple more outfits, but we got to move on to other things. The next stage I did was that in D&D, tieflings are born of both either a demon parent and a non-demon parent, or even could be as little as just a demon somehow getting their magic and influencing that baby. And that influence, sort of, depending on what layer of the 9 hells that demon came from, would influence the color and aspects of that character. But I think that I've just decided to go with whatever I like, ignoring that, and I think my favourite one is definitely the bottom left. I also like the black and grey version with the black coloured skin and the grey hair, but I think I'm mostly torn towards the original grey skin, black hair. So this next section is I played around a little bit more. I decided to go back on, with Yuen's help, I decided to go back and play around with the horns a little bit more. So I came up with a bunch of different horn designs, be it having one horn, both his horns are lost, or big spirally horns, but I think that based on horns, I don't really like designs of tieflings and demons that have big exaggerated horns like the top left image or the center right image. I think they're just a little bit much, and I think that in my mind I always think about, how would that person sleep with that sort of thing on their head? They wouldn't it would just make life extremely difficult, and I think that it was much easier to just keep it sort of more albeit D&D, I think it's better to keep it a little bit more based in reality and something that's usable. And as I said in this description here, I think that it's up to me as the artist to do whatever I like, because although this character is based off D&D, I suppose D&D was the catalyst for this character's creation, rather than D&D being all this character is. It started off as a D&D character, but I've now drawn it and molded it and created my own sort of thing from it, which I think is one of the best things about D&D, is that it can evolve from just being D&D. I would have liked to spend more time doing some sort of emotions, like base emotions on Iblis. Just here, I sort of realized after looking at them all on a single page that I sort of made him look a little bit evil, but in D&D, the way, not even in D&D, just the way that I've written his backstory and the way I've treated him, he's sort of more of a hot-headed, easily angered character, and despite being a bit standoffish, obviously being, a main protagonist and everything, he would still stand by his friends no matter what, even if they slight him. Moving on to week 4, I started modelling Iblis, playing around in Maya. I started with I didn't take a picture of it, but I started as a little square, and from there I used the edge loop tool to cut straight down the center and cut it in half, and then I deleted the left half of the square, and then using the right half of the square I used a tool called duplicate special, and then in that tool you can actually select to instance the duplication, which means that when you modify a vertex or a line or a face on one half of the model, it will actually work on the other half of the model. So essentially you only need to do half the work. You only need to model one side of the character, because the other side's just being modeled by you at the same time, sort of thing. Keeps everything very symmetrical. But the problem with it being so symmetrical is that once you finish all the symmetrical aspects of your character, you then need to delete the mirrored side and then use the duplicate special tool once more to, duplicate the side that you've already done, but just as a regular model, not instanced or anything, so it won't change at the same time. So this is when after you've duplicated it as just a regular object, you then need to select the edge loop around the center of the character and go to each vertex and sort of you stitch them together. You just select both vertices, and then you can do the merge to center tool, which is what I used anyway. And it would just merge those two vertices together and eventually essentially combining the object into one thing. And then that's after that, that's when you can go and create more unsymmetrical things. Like for Iblis, for example, in his current outfit, he has one arm that is just his jacket sleeve, whereas the other arm has a shoulder, like a pauldron on his shoulder, as well as armor that sort of gradually goes down his arm. Whereas if I was to do that with the symmetrical thing, I would obviously end up with armor on both arms, which is not his design. Moving on from there, I have my week 5 and 6 plan, where I'm going to now. I think I overestimated myself a little bit, and I would love to finish the model and texture it and rig it, which is a possibility. The rigging part, I think I hopefully should be able to model and texture the character. Although I still need to sculpt the character's head, which may take a long time because I have not done much sculpting. So I may end up finishing these 6 weeks with just a fully modeled character and sculpted head. After this, I think moving on to after week 6, I think I'm going to hopefully texture and rig the character, and then hopefully get into some test animations. And by the end of week 12 or whatever we end up going to, I would love to have some finished vignettes or of the character, maybe completing small tasks, just really realistically, like even something as simple as picking up a cup. I just want the animations to look believable and natural. And that's where I'm at this week. Thank you for listening.